welcome to Davita's Stampin' Spot. It's Tuesday, and I have a technique that I'm looking forward to sharing with you today. See if I can get my lighting here. There we go. I think that'll work better. Thanks for joining me. I'm uh, I'm laughing because I can hear a lawnmower going and kids talking outside. And 10 minutes ago, it was nice and quiet outside. But I guess that's the way it goes. So I guess that way it makes it feel like you're right at my place with all the activities that go on in my neighborhood. So I'm checking to see if we've got anybody joining us. All right. Anybody joining us? And I do that every time. Forget to turn my volume down. All right. Trying to make sure everything's working right here. Let's see. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I saw this fun technique on um, split coast stampers, and I thought it would be really interesting to play with it a little bit. And I have to admit, I wish I'd have had a couple more hours just to play, because it's one of those fun techniques that every time you do it, it's going to look different. And I just love the effect of it. So I'm going to give you an idea of what it looks like. Here you can see it. Mixture of colors in there. So this one is a Seaside Spray. I've got some Night of Navy. Amazingly enough, there's some Mossy Meadow in there, some Early Espresso. And we're going to just start with a piece of basic white. Oh, where'd I put it? I get everything ready and then I can't find things. Well, I guess we'll cut another piece. So I'm starting with just our basic white cardstock. There we go. I put it away. All right, make sure that's the right size here real quick. So I'm starting with a piece that is, oh, here we go. Hate it when I get so organized I can't find anything. Does anybody else do that? I'm sure you guys don't. All right, this folder is one that's going away. It's the Lace 3D. It was one of our first 3D ones. And what I've done, you're going to see there's already some crumb cake in it. I'm going to put crumb cake ink right inside. And if you're trying to decide which flap you want to put it on, you want to go on the one that says Sizzix and Stampin' Up. All right. So I'm going to lay it on here, get it straight as I can. And then I'm going to take it over to our die cutting machine. And this one is one of the older ones. So you'll actually do the base, then this, which is your folder and your paper, and then just one clear piece. And I'm going to run that through the die cutting machine. And you just need to go through one time. This is a really nice, deep impressions folder. Hey, Lois, thanks for saying hi. Let me know that somebody's on there with me. And look at that. See how it just adds depth? So you could stop right there, but we're going to make it even more interesting is what I think it is anyway. All right, so I'm going to put crumb cake away. I'm going to start with the lightest color that I'm using today, which is the Seaside Spray. I'm using our blending brushes, and I'm just going to gently rub it across. And the main thing you want to get is the raised images. So you don't want to push really hard. You're just trying to get the raised part. Now, if it gets down below, that's all right. And we're going to want to add a little bit down in there. So you can see I'm just trying to hit the high pieces. All right, so see how that looks? Get that shadow off. You can see a little of the blue there. So I've got the brown and the blue. Now, when I started working on this and I was showing it to Kent, it kind of reminds me of how the building in Topeka, our capital, starts looking, the dome, after it starts weathering. And that's kind of what we're going for here. So now I'm going to throw in some of the mossy meadow. So it's a little dark green. That's going to give it that weathered look. Okay, so now you can kind of see a little more green. You can still see some of the blue, and then of course the brown shows up. I wanted it to have a little bit more depth to it, so I came back with Night of Navy, and on this one you need to go very light, okay, because navy is so dark. So I'm just barely brushing across the top, just to give it just a little bit of that blue. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to brown again, and this time I'm going to use my dark early espresso. And so I'll grab my brown blending brush, and again we're just going to go over, and this I want it just down here just a little bit to bring out the depth of the bottom of this embossing. This has it looks like it's many layers of embossing. And so I'm trying to highlight all those different layers. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to emboss, and I'm going to tell you what I did wrong. So the first time I did just like this. So I had all my different colors in there, and I was pretty happy with it, thought it looked good. And on the instructions, it said to take your Versamark and add, I'm going back and add just a little blue. Add some Versamark and some gold embossing powder. So I thought, oh, easy enough. Well, I didn't take into account that I've just sponged wet ink all over this. Well, what happens when embossing powder hits wet ink? It sticks, right? So the entire thing became gold, which completely defeated the purpose of this technique. And it just looked like a gold embossed piece, which was pretty, but wasn't what I was going for. So you're going to see that I did the same thing here earlier. And on this one, I didn't add the dark blue. So see the difference in this? I don't know if you can see it. But the blue, I just think it ages it a little bit more. So normally I would, if it was just me, I'd probably come back and put a little bit of blue in here, a little bit more. But since I don't want it to be all wet, I'll leave it like that. So I wanted to control the Versamark, because I found that when I added the Versamark, so many times I got too much of it. So I decided to go with the dauber, and I'm going to get just a little bit of Versamark, and I just want to brush it in little spots. This is one of those less is more things. You do not want much gold, okay? So there, I think I did 5 little spots. I'm going to grab my gold embossing powder and add it. And because I want this to look really weathered and worn, instead of leaving those splotches like I did them, I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to brush over the top of this, because I don't want it really, really strong. I want it to look like it's been out in the weather a long time. So you can see I'm just cleaning off most of it, letting it go down into the pores, and that's where I'm going to add the gold. So now I'm going to grab my heat tool, and I'm going to have to go off camera because I forgot again. Well, maybe I can make it reach. There we go. All right. I like using a clipboard because then my fingers don't get hot. I tried doing it yesterday without the clipboard, and my hands got really hot. So now what we're going to do is just heat up the embossing powder. Cindy, thanks. I'm glad you like it. I have had a lot of fun with this. All right, so there it goes. The nice thing with embossing powder is you know when it's working because it gets shiny. I was telling some ladies that stamped with me last week that the first time I was exposed to heat embossing like this, no one really told me how to do it, and I didn't heat it enough, and I just got the embossing powder all over the place, and I hated it. But then when someone showed me the right way to do it, well, as you can see, I love it because I'm still doing it. So goes to show that you need to learn how to do things the right way. All right, so there we go. Now, one thing I did too is because that gold starts looking really shiny, is I just came back with a little bit of the early espresso. And you know, I didn't even put more on my brush. I just used what was on there, just enough, because you don't want it shiny, shiny. And although it kind of looks like it on the screen here, it isn't. I'm trying to make it real weathered. Okay. So now I can go back with a little of the blue if I want to, since I'm not going to emboss anymore. And because I chose blue paper, I am going to come back just a little bit with a little more blue. All right. So if you have our 2020-2021 catalog, you have 1 week. No, not even a week. Till next Tuesday night. And after Tuesday night, you will not be able to order it anymore. So look through that catalog. If there's something that's not carried over, you're going to want to get that before it's gone. Some items, if Stampin' Up! Doesn't make the product, may already be gone, but you should be able to get the stamp sets that you want. All right, so I'm going to glue this down. And because this is such a deep embossed image, liquid glue will work. You may even want to go with tear tape or a Stampin' Seal Plus because it's kind of hard to get it glued down when you get all that texture going. All right. So there's that. And then I'm going to grab my Seaside Spray. Been trying to use up some of the cardstock from the colors that are going away, and I realized I have quite a bit of this left, which is okay. I really like the color, but I won't be able to use it in my classes after next week. All right, so there we go. Can you see that? Look how weathered that looked. Doesn't that look cool? And I still need a little more blue in it. The green must have been really heavy on this one when I started it. There we go. We'll add there, just a little bit of that blue on it. Look how different that makes it look. You see that? Oh, I just think this is fun. All right. So one of the new stamp sets that I'll be highlighting next week. Oh, Fran says she uses a wooden clothespin. Oh, for hanging on to embossing, that would work too. Yeah. Anything that keeps the heat away from your fingers is what you want. That's for sure. So let's see. What do I want to use for my greeting this time? I had some greetings out here and then I put them away. So now I'm always needing thank you. This massive thanks has this thank you right here that I like. So I think we'll grab that one. There we go. And since I want this to show up pretty well on the blue, I either want to use the navy or with the dark brown. And I think I'll go with the blue here. So I'm going to stamp thank you down here. All right. Like that. Changing this one up just a little bit from what I did before. I'll show you the other one. This is the faux suede trim, and I believe it is carrying over in the catalog. And this has the neatest feel to it. I really like the feel of this stuff. And whenever I do my ribbon, I always use glue dots, put one on at each end. And if you've got a pretty big piece that you're going across, It's always a good idea to put one right in the middle, and the glue dots usually are smaller than your ribbon, and so it works really well. Put that across there, and then I'm just going to tie a little knot. And again, use a glue dot. I'm working on my open house. It's going to be February 8th. Good grief, May 8th, a week from this Saturday. So if you haven't RSVP'd for that, please let me know that you're going to stop by. I am cleaning out, so there's going to be a lot of retired merchandise for sale. And I'm going to have displays with new stuff, some goodies to give away, some make and takes, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So it'll be from 9 to 1 here at the house. All right. And there you go. Look at that weathered look. Isn't that cool? All right, so I'll show you what else I made. Close my ink pads because I usually get ink where I don't want them. All right, so here's the first one that I did. And see, I got it even a little more weathered than this first one. Then my thinking of you. So you know how we always say, oh, a mistake's an opportunity to be more creative. So I stamped this in the early espresso and then started rubbing the Seaside spray over it before it was completely dry. And so I kind of got some gray marks. So then I thought, well, I guess it's going to be really weathered. So then I just added some more blue and then added the early espresso around the edge. So there's that one. And that one has a little more of the gold. You'll see on this one, I used the edge of my Versamark pad. Oops, upside down. Versamark pad. And so I got a lot more gold on it. And I found that I liked the smaller bunches of it with the dauber. So there's those two. Then I thought, well, what if I did white instead of gold? So this one here, I did all blue. So I started with Night of Navy, and then I added the Seaside spray. I did a little Pacific Point, and then went back with just a little bit of the Night of Navy in there. And so that one, I just thought that was really cool with just a little bit of the white. And I guess you can kind of see that. And then I thought, well, I'm using the green. So I highlighted more green on this one. And it ended up that after I sponged the Mossy Meadow and I added in some Old Olive and the browns, it almost looked like the Seaside spray, or Seaside, what is it called? Seaside foam? Yeah, right? Goodness, my brain today. Soft seafoam, there we go. So I use the soft seafoam paper with the early espresso. This Thinking of You is in the Rooted in Nature, and you know that one's going away. So if you don't have that one, you're going to want to get it. I love that Thinking of You. And then added some gold dots. And then I had this little spot here. I stamped it and then went ahead and did the embossing folder, and it had just a little bit of the brown in it. And I thought that turned out really cool. It'll be a neat accent piece on a card. And then the last one I tried today is in pinks. So I did petal pink, added in some Calypso coral, and then amazingly enough, this is a little bit of rich raspberry in there, and then added the gold. And then this time to highlight the gold, I put the gold frame around it. And this is a greeting from the new Pansy stamp set that I will be highlighting probably next week, because I'll get to start our new catalog starting with my live video next week. So there you go. This technique could be done in blues, purples, any color you want. There's just so many options with it. And you can do gold embossing powder. If I'd had a little more time, I think I would have tried a silver one, but just ran out of time. So this, just the tips, remember, let this dry after you've sponged it, or use your heat tool to dry it before you put your Versamark and your powder on it, or it'll just turn into a solid embossed piece, which is pretty, but then it takes away the whole image that you've worked so hard with the blends. All right, host code is right here. If you're ordering before May 1 and your order's under 150, I'd appreciate it if you use the host code. It helps me get supplies for my open house and classes and my videos and everything. So if you have any questions on retiring projects or products, reach out to me. Fran, I wish you were coming too to the open house. Yeah, Fran, I know. How many weeks in a row have I used pink? Kind of scary, isn't it? Seems like it just keeps coming up in what I make. So there you go. A little bit of blue, a little bit of green, a little bit of pink. I would love to see what you create with this. So if you play with the technique and you come up with a fun layout or a neat mix of the colors, just share it down below underneath this feed. I'd love to see what you're creating. Thanks to all of you that joined me today, and we will see you later. Have a great week. See you next Tuesday.